Not me if I take over. So we will call the Public Safety and Public Works Committee to order Tuesday, August 3rd, 2:00. We've got a quorum. Everybody got a copy of the agenda or need a copy? Well, you want to give, you got one for our law enforcement people, maybe? So I'll call for approval on the agenda as presented and
So move. Second.
moved by Supervisor Warrendahl, second by Supervisor Rowdy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Public comments, I guess, is the next on the agenda.
Chair, we need.
Oh, wait a minute, we gotta approve the minutes of July.
So move.
Second. Moved by Supervisor Warrendahl, second by Supervisor Demling. Any discussions on the last month's minutes? Hearing none. All say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Now we'll move on to public comment. Dr. Chad, he's on the movie screen. I don't know about,
Yeah, I'm on the movie screen.
you don't have anybody that called in on public comments.
I don't think we have any public comment, Mr. Chair.
We aren't allowed to answer anything on public comments. But what I am gonna do is, Steve, I'm gonna ask you, do you have any comments from the fair or anything? Because our agenda is gonna go pretty quick.
Great.
Weather was good and
Yeah, they had the tornado warning on Wednesday night. Had a little bit of issue, but great turnout, big crowd.
I would imagine just about a record from what I had seen.
Josh Kelch, one of the vendors there, said that he said it was a record for him that.
Did you have any report, Sheriff Watt?
Put them on the agenda so I can give it then.
Okay.
So I was gonna talk about the fair and just to say it was a great event and we had, it's a great event for us to do some outreach, to have a positive contact with the public. And everybody I talked to was having a great time. We had, most of the vendors I talked to as well thought it was a record year. They were running out of everything on Sunday and that's how it's supposed to work. So I think it was a great time. We had very little law enforcement issues, as we usually do. We have a few missing kids throughout the day. We deal with some lost and found property.
Did you have the command post there?
Yes. Yeah, it was a great event. I was gonna just give an update, but I don't have to now. But I have some other things I can talk about later in the
Oh,
agenda.
I ain't gonna let you go free.
Yeah, West Emmanuel had them steak on, or pork chops on the stick and that. They were, Saturday, they had to go and get a bunch more because they were down to maybe 15 pounds.
The only thing I had heard is I had people call me and people kind of just thought, well, they would be able to get some vaccine shots in there.
And they had shortage of horses, but a lot of them didn't know if it was gonna happen or not, so.
Okay.
A
well,
lot of educational stuff. Crex Meadows came down and
Yeah.
spent a day. I mean, it was great for them kids.
Yeah.
We did the smokehouse volunteer, different departments volunteered to run that smokehouse. I was impressed. There was a little girl, I suppose she was about 5. I helped her out the window when she was escaping from the smoke. I kind of pulled her aside and said, did the door get hot? She said, yeah, the door got hot. I says, well, how do you check it? She says, always check it with the back of your hand. I said, you know why that is? Well, because this isn't as sensitive as the back of your hand, so you know if it's hot.
And a little girl.
Yeah, I mean, a 5-year-old girl, so she come out of that smokehouse educated to probably know how to save her family or her life some days.
Makes a difference.
It was good.
I don't know about the total money, but the animal auction Saturday night went good as always, if not better. last page there, the Oscar Hog went for
7.25.
the last one, Teddy Newman's was 7.25. And,
7.5.
yeah, the Oscar was 11 something. Okay, well, those are some good comments. That's what we're here for. Number 7, we should have some comments from the boss.
I'll just give you a quick general update on COVID. As you have probably heard across the nation, getting more headlines. Is it surging? Is it not surging? It is at different rates, different places. Here in Polk County, we are seeing the number of cases going up slightly. We're still not in that high category according to the CDC or the state. So we're keeping our eye on that. I think what we're emphasizing now with the health department is how do we better market the vaccines, kind of get rid of the myths and the misinformation and rather talk about it so that people are comfortable with it enough to go and consider getting the vaccine. If we get the vaccines rate up, we think the chances of being are going back to a mask mandate go down. So we're encouraging people to get vaccinated. I think our rate is approaching in the county, the total population is approaching 50%. If you just look at 12 years and older, but depending on the vaccine, that might be, really the realistic part of the population. We're at like 54%. The ARPA summary, I'll just give you an update. We are finally putting together a quick, short summary on what ARPA is intended to do. That's the funds that the feds are giving us. I am also, that should be coming out this week. I'm also taking requests for ideas on how to spend that money. Had a few supervisors call me and say, hey, I got this idea, hand it to me. What do I do with it? It's very simple. They can hand it to you. They can send it to me. They can call me. What I'm asking folks to do is to put it in writing. Put your thought into it, to give us in writing what you want to be done, why it is good to be done, how it's going to help the people where they are, and how it will support the whole county. So that I can then take a look at it, go back to them with questions, and then we can come to the board and start discussing some of the ideas. And you can tell me which direction you want to go or what themes you want to hit first, and we can evolve and develop these as you want. So we do have time. I think, Mr. Bonaprise, you asked, what's our deadline? Well, really not till the end of 2024. But I think in the next month or two, we'll be collecting ideas or developing ideas, and then we can start making a decision going forward at that time. All I have.
Any questions for the chief? Hearing none, number 8, update from Commissioner Norby. Couple items there, bridge projects, everything in general. You got some slides? Well, better looking ourselves at the screen.
On one there, Mo?
That's it, yes.
Just a update on some of the projects that are going on. I'll start with the SDP rural and bridge programs that we have active projects going right now. Next slide. County Road M. County Road M is moving along from the county line up to 9. They finished surface yesterday on it, working on driveways. They are working on shouldering it back this week. Should be completed the week of August 16th. Madison has to come in that last bit and put the guardrails up by Cedar Lake and cap off that. Next slide. You see what a nice wide surface. This got 3 lifts on it, density and ride incentive on this for Monarch paving, so it rides really nice.
Oh, does
This will be a good speed enforcement area for law enforcement to look at.
I just told them that.
I've already got one request that someone wants me to lower the speed limit down to 45 miles an hour on it. Ready on it. So, but the project is going very well. This project is just slightly under $5 million. And they'll be done ahead of schedule on this one. Next slide. In the bridge program, this is the bridge on 40th Street. It's a dead end in the town of Beaver. Due to being a dead end, they had to put in a bypass bridge prior to demolition of the other bridge because there's 3 residents that live back there. So this is the bypass part of it, and this is them carrying out the deck. This bridge is scheduled to be completed by the end of August. Next slide. This is the bridge on 165th Avenue, right there by DM Campground. You can see the bridge is out. The east wing wall has been formed, ready for concrete. Again, this will be done and ready for traffic by the end of August. Larson Construction has both these projects and 30th Street. Next slide. 30th Street Bridge, that is slated to start August 31st. We haven't had the pre-con yet. That's down in the town of Clear Lake. So that one is on schedule. Larson, once they finish the first 2 bridges, they'll be moving down to this bridge down there. As far as county projects, County Road I from Sunny Lane north to 48 and County W from I to Frederick. We start milling the week of the 16th. That gets paid back. We start paving the week of August 23rd on those ones. Our chip seals start next week, August 9th. That'll be County Road H north of Highway 8, County Double G, and County J. We're also doing chip seals for the town of Garfield, and Clem Falls asked us to do some this week. County highways for crack sealing. We finished crack sealing. This last meeting, Double J, County G, and K. We're starting then shortly here as time permits, State Highway 35 from 8 to Luck. And then Frederick to Siren is our county ones we're crack sealing. There. Other state project that we've completed, our portion of it, well, not quite, is the intersection of State Highway 35 and 63rd Avenue in Osceola across right by the hospital there. We removed the east side of the intersection there. The state requested that we take that intersection and tip the entire thing to the north versus splitting it going north and south. So watersheds away from Mr. Anderson's residence there. So that's been removed, shaped, and should be paved either this afternoon or by the end of this week. And then we just have some on that one. Also, you're probably aware of on the federal scene, they come to a bipartisan. They're starting to work on the transportation bill, new bipartisan one that they're working on. The fact sheets have come out on that and include 110 billion for roads and highways, 66 billion for passenger freight rail, 39 billion for public transportation, 25 billion for airports, ports and waterways, 17 billion, electric charging network, 7.5 billion, electric school buses, 7.5 billion, safety for the HISIP, which we use this program a lot on our roads for safety programs, 11 billion, and reconnecting communities, 1 billion. Infrastructure refinancing was not part of the new bill here. So that they're working on that in the Senate. So we still need the Senate to pass it and the House. So that's still in the works right now. And we hired a new mechanic this last week. He started, Samson Ricker started. That's all I have for an update right now.
Oh, on County Road M, they put on 3 2-inch layers for a 6-inch. I always thought our county roads were 4-inch layers. Are they all 6-inch layers?
No, they'll vary from 3 to 6. This was 6-inch layer. It was done in a 2.5, a 1 3/4, and a 2 3/4 cap on it for ride.
I was really surprised there, but man, they're gonna put the 3rd layer on there.
And it's wide.
And it's wide. Yeah, when you get St. Croix County, you can see it's 2 inches wide or 2 feet wider on each side, so we're about 4 feet wider than the existing, correct?
Correct. It's 36 feet wide now on pavement, with 6-foot shoulders, half gravel, half asphalt. So there'll be room once it's striped for bicycle or pedestrians to walk on.
Are they getting the shoulders right from the lime quarry there?
All the gravel's coming from the lime quarry.
Do you have any breakdown on that 5 million? How much is federal? And
Right now, of that 1.1 to 1.3 is county share. The rest of it's state and federal.
you're talking 1% or one?
1.3 million, 1.1 million is county, depending where the final cost lands. It's the 80-20 program at the state level that I've mentioned that it's been capped. You know, cost came in at the first bid, 400,000 over budget. Originally, yes,
We made that up by changing.
we made some of it up by trying to change some of the testing and eliminating the total closure along with the detour.
It sure looks like the best road we got in Polk County as far as like. Everybody needs to, folks from the north, when you see this super highway, you're gonna be. We don't have anything like it in the county. To me, it's much better than Highway 35.
Yeah, no, that's probably our widest county highway.
Any questions? Well, thank you, Dr. Moe.
Thank you.
And one of our best reports. Number 9. Update from Sheriff Walk.
I can't surpass the best report.
Well, you didn't spend that much money.
Well, if you want to give me the money, I can spend it.
Yeah, show me the money and you take care of it.
I don't have a lot to talk about today. I reviewed, we got the state inspection for the jail. Once a year, Department of Corrections comes in and does a full inspection of the jail. And it's so particular that one of the things they knocked us on was that we hadn't recorded what the actual temperature of the dishwasher was. That's how specific the inspection is. I'm happy to say our inspection was fantastic. A lot of great compliments about how we run the facility and how our facility is. One of the things that does come up though is we have in some of the showers, there's some staining and mildew. And at some point I'm gonna come to the committee and ask, there's apparently a way to seal those showers. That's the trend they do in corrections so that it gets rid of that discoloring and that mildew effect. So that's something I'll be hitting us up at some point for a capital type improvement. Otherwise, the inspection was fantastic. They noted in that report that running a jail during a pandemic is a very difficult task, and they were very pleased with how we ran our facility and that we didn't have any outbreaks of COVID. And I'm knocking on wood because we're not through this yet, but as of now, we've done a fantastic job and I expect that to continue. We talked a little bit about the Polk County Fair, but honestly, I can just say from a law enforcement end, the fair went off without a hitch. We had a great time. It's really a good way for us to, make more partnerships with our community. So it's a benefit for the sheriff's office, definitely. Then finally, I'll just say tonight we are doing the National Night Out at the sheriff's office at 5:00 p.m. So it's that's where we further our relationship with the community. We have some kids games. We get a lot of donations. We've got a bounce house. We've got a dunk tank, and I won't be going in the dunk tank. I don't know who is, but I'm not that. I don't look good in a swimsuit, so we're not even going there. So that is tonight. I'm really excited about that. And a lot of the communities throughout Polk County do celebrate the National Night Out. So this will be our second time doing it. 2 years ago, we did National Night Out. It was a big success. Last year, we didn't do it because of COVID. And this year, we feel that we're doing it. It's an outdoor event, and we feel that we're going to do it safely.
Who's all invited to this?
Anyone can show up. We've advertised it on our social media. Some of the other social media outlets have shared it as well. So
Would you like some of our committee there?
you're all welcome to attend if you would like. 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock tonight at the south lot of the sheriff's office. We'll feed you a hot dog and some chips and some pop and show off some of our nice items that we have.
You're gonna have like some squad cars that some kids can look at and
Oh, yeah,
see some of the details and
certainly.
I think Osceola is, talked to one of the officers and they're getting a, body cam on. Have you got a timetable when we're gonna have body cameras and officers?
We're working on a grant right now, try to get them, but you know, our hope also is perhaps maybe it gets mandated and then there's some funding for it. Because ultimately, if we get them, we would probably like to get 50 to 60 cameras, because I'd like the jail staff to also have them.
Yeah.
It is a good protection. You know, some of the concerns is just managing the records requests for it. We have 50 active body cams out there and all that recording gets stored, and then someone open records requests all of it. I mean, we can really tie up staff on these records requests. So just to administer the whole program could potentially create a staffing issue. So we've eased into it. Don is working on a grant, and hopefully we can get it without a lot of cost to the county. That's our goal anyway.
It's certainly getting to be more pressure to have it mandatory.
Well, it'd be nice if it was, and then they mandated it and funded it. That would be the appropriate way to do it. So, yeah.
Dr. Don, is he speaking for all your ideas?
Oh, yeah.
Any other questions for Sheriff Walk?
No, he had a good time at the fair. He was right across from the cookie stand.
Yeah, that's a form of torture to put us across from the cookie stand. It's also good for their business, because I'm sure they get a little business from us as well.
In behalf of our committee, in behalf of our supervisors, we sure want to appreciate everything. Real sense.
Thank you. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Update on the CCC, or CJC, and, Jay's in on that. And Chad, do you want to speak to that on your walkie-talkie?
I sure will. I'll cover it. So I'm going to wrap the annual report for the CJCC into the tying to board priorities because they really go hand in hand. You know, the two top board priorities are substance abuse reduction and prevention and public safety, of which the CJCC is directly tied to both. So it very simply wraps into the board priorities.
We have director on staff.
So I'll touch on that in just a second, Mr. Chair. For the director, just so everyone knows, we are down to 2 finalists. We will interview, they're going to give a presentation to a panel that consists of various stakeholders on August 18th, and we'll choose our new CJCC coordinator following those presentations. So I was really impressed with the pool of applicants we had this time. It was just incredible how many good applicants we had. On that note, to kind of go over 2020, budgetarily, the CJCC did well in 2020, but that was actually due to the fact that we did not have a coordinator between February and December. As you all will recall, the previous coordinator left in February of 2020. And when I came into my position, we went out to market for a new one after we redesigned the CJCC and redesigned the business plan. So we spent 2020 working on a new business plan, new bylaws, new operating procedures. And then in September, we went to market for a coordinator. We hired one in December. And as I updated all of you last month, that coordinator was poached by another county. So we had to go back to square one, but it looks like we're going to wind up with a good person in that position. Also, along budgetary lines, our revenue collections for CJCC were up significantly in 2020. They far exceeded budgetary expectations. Now, that doesn't mean CJC is anywhere near being self-sustaining, But the fact that our charge for public services, the cost for testing, the cost for the classes, the cost for being in the program, we're starting to see those go up. And you all know the ultimate goal is for the CJCC program to be self-sustaining through grants and donations and charges for public service and not be on the levy dollars. We're not there yet, but that's our goal and it's moving in the right direction. On the grant note, it's a 5-year funding cycle and it is expiring. So the new grant is anticipated to open up in August or September. We've got a plan underway to identify our project plan for the grant. We're going to have our project plan written and scoped out just as soon as we can, because we won't really know the gist of the grant till it opens, but we've put together a good action plan and we've brainstormed on ideas for the next grant cycle. We're hopeful on that because the state increased funding to CJCC to the TAG grants significantly, so there's more money in the pot. We had an audit in June and it was a really good audit. We had a couple deficiencies, but we've identified those deficiencies and already addressed them. And I think it put us in a better position for the grant. We are presently standing with 10 participants in treatment court. That's as of today. So that's gone up. More importantly, we have participants at each of the 4 stages, which is what we want. We want to see people going out, people coming in, and people moving through so that we have an even number going through. We also moved our diversion case manager into the DA's office to be housed in the DA's office, which is in line with other counties. And that seems to be working better because the diversion case manager is in there in the day-to-day mix with the district attorney, which is what that program needs. In 2020, we introduced jail testing. As you all recall, the former nonprofit CJCC covered the cost of construction renovations in the jail so that we could test the participants in the jail. The sheriff's staff does the urine tests on the participants, and the CJCC provides an annual funding to the sheriff's office for that cost. We also began follicular testing in 2020, which is a new thing. So it's on kind of a randomized pattern, but we have the participants come in and we have hair follicle testing done because there is some defeat of urine analysis testing, but the follicle testing can detect 6 to 9 months back. So if they've been cheating on our urine tests, the follicle tests help identify it. And that just gives a new level of integrity to being in the program. And the last thing I have to cover is, well, I guess that's it. That covers my annual report and the update. Do you guys have any questions?
Anybody got any questions for Chad? Well, Chad, I think you deserve a big thanks. The CJC program and everything seems to be right on track and really taking some leaps and bounds. Number of participants we have and seems to be right on track for what we need in the county.
Yeah, I think we're going in the right direction. I think CJCC and programs like it that fall under it, you're going to see growth in those areas over the coming years. And I would say that it's likely the committee will see in the next 5 or 10 years, additional resource requests and funding requests as alternative justice grows. If you look at St. Croix County, Dunn County, other counties, the amount of resources going to CJCC has grown exponentially as our programs have grown. And we're kind of shifting towards that alternative justice model. So I would say look on that for the horizon.
For the committee, I spent 5 days down in Stevens Point presenting. I think Polk County staff had 10. I think we had 10 resolutions, and a couple of them affected from the highway, and a couple of them affected from from the public on our law enforcement. Now, the one, I think 9 of them passed by unanimous without any negative votes. And the one that didn't pass was referred back to the board of directors. But at least, you know, it's still there. I think the board of directors will approve it. And that one said, whereas Polk County requests the governor to propose some money for what did they call it? Database, for database information for drug prosecution. And there's a lot of people, supervisors and that are on criminal justice committees, and some of them felt that there would be some questions for privacy law on that. And I assured them that that was well within the privacy law. But that was sent back to board of directors, and so that'll be brought back at the next quarterly. And I see already on the next quarterly environmental committee tomorrow, they're going to be finalizing a resolution, something to do with CAFOs, which is just under the swine category. Bayfield is a little bit off, but I mean, we're all supervisors, and Bayfield County had 2 resolutions, one passed and one didn't. And the one that didn't was restricting CAFOs in general. And we all know that we're under a 7,700 animal unit with the CAFO restrictions. And if we're going to restrict, you know, like dairy or something like that, you're going to restrict the people that actually feed the world. And the question has always been, could you just separate swine out? And hopefully the resolution will be written so it'll be legal. That'll be on the next agenda from Polk County. Our staff, I was just amazed, but I hadn't read them all in detail that much. And geez, one day I had 3 resolutions from Polk County. The next day I had 2, and the next day I had 3 more. So it was working out real well. Okay. ATV committee, Dr. Rowdy, let's turn it over to you. You had a
Update.
good session here, and
We had an excellent session today, I thought. And one of the questions that we were dealing with was Lorraine Township Trail from Clam Falls to Indian Creek. And we had a member of the EIO club here representing them. And we talked about wetlands and well, what they really talked about in general was how do we get started with creating this trail? And should we do this versus mainly we have to deal with the DNR to find out what can be done because that is heavier soil and chance of wetlands up there. So then we talked to Mo came and we were looking for where Ben was at in creating a meeting with the DNR, and Mo has the meeting, but he doesn't have a date. And so that's coming, and that'll be a perfect start to get this situation going up there. It's like a 10-mile trail, isn't it? I think he told me. So that'll be another nice piece of trail. And let's see, the other thing Mo talked about was the Sterling Trail, and that the signage is done and the new parking lot has been created. I happened to be up there Friday after attending the fair, and it's just excellent. They gravelled the parking lot, it's smooth, perfect, a nice place to park, put your trailers, and they have signage up that's excellent because you can find it now. Because the first time we went up there, we didn't have, Wendy and I didn't have a sign, so we went on by. And the other thing, this is a personal comment, before and today, I guess, is that there seems to be an excellent working between Mo and the clubs and a dialogue to see where they're going.
And with the sheriff's department, huh?
Oh, they work good well with the sheriff's department. But it's just nice to see this dialogue today and completing projects, working on projects, who's part of this, who's part of that. It just seemed like a smooth discussion. It's great to hear.
Yeah. Are your trail committees, you think that with this, 8.5 million ARPO that be able to improve some of your trail goals with some of those, funds?
I haven't heard anything about that, to tell you the truth. That could happen, would happen, I don't.
Vince, do you know, was it in, I see it in some notes about the DNR and the Cattail Trail? There's some questions the DNR has about that, or do you know anything about that?
Well, the DNR has elected to rule on our master plan for the Cattail Trail, initially saying they wanted to wait till the Stour gets settled. We've asked them to, no, it's a separate trail and to do it, to give it. So,
That's confusing why they would,
Right.
how that would have any balance, isn't it?
yeah. So what we are doing, they did respond to Mo's request and said that in essence, the shortcomings of the Cat Trail master plan were similar to the shortcomings of the Stour Trail when they initially reviewed Stour back in 2018 or 19. And therefore, in the meantime, we've collected a lot of information, and so we are fulfilling their requests. It's something that we can take with not too much time, fulfill it, and then put it back on their desk to say, now, you have what you need, let's get this moving. So we are hopeful that we will get them to move off their chairs.
I'd like to say something about the DNR. There isn't any press here, but the DNR is tough. I can applaud where you guys are at because the DNR, it's a lot of who you know and who wants to help you and who doesn't, doesn't it? So it maybe take some comment. The reason why I'm saying that is it probably takes some comments from everybody to get the DNR to think right. And they should be in favor of helping us as constituents and, you know, the DNR, you have chief of the DNR is appointed by the governor. That makes it bureaucratic instead of the way we are, you know, elected from the people, from the grassroots. And they need to always have somebody making comments to try and get some accountability. A lot of experience with them, just the way it is. Getting back to your comments, Doug, this, this trail from Clam Falls to Indian Creek is a very heavily used trail, isn't it?
Well, there isn't a trail there.
Well, yeah, road by,
Oh, by road, I would assume so, yes.
Clem or, Indian Creek has a very nice, Veterans Day and Memorial Day celebration at their post. I happen to have a cousin at Largan Lake that was subject to Agent Orange in the First World War. You know, guy suffered so much the rest of his life from that Agent Orange. Always went up to Indian Creek, where I still do. Daughter and son-in-law, and then we go from there to Clam Falls every year, and they know the roads and think it's been more accessible since that.
A lot of people up that area, how they use it.
Glad to see all the progress and hard work that you gentlemen do. Sure helps our tourism and everything else. Any news on any trails in county forest or anything? There
I
is,
guess there hasn't been any further update on that, trying to finish the Sterling first phase. In a discussion item, but it's kind of on hold because we got these other two to work on right now.
that's one of the goals though, isn't it, that you guys are working on, is to try and, as far as the county goes, try and open up more county forest roads for.
Yes. Environmental side, I believe, environmental committee is looking at that. And that comes down tomorrow.
And environmental, yeah.
Mark is gonna do a presentation on it.
Yeah, the environmental, if anybody hasn't seen the agenda for environmental tomorrow, they got a pretty good agenda. You might not get done by noon. Okay, what else we got? Those
Any
are-
comment, Mr. Chair?
Yeah,
Just wanted to talk a little bit to the committee about, fire department's been talking a lot about all these additions that are gonna be coming out in Sterling. Okay, we spend a lot of time out with the horse people. You know, we gotta do first responder, we gotta try and find them, so we're working with the horse people to tell us what trail are you on? Somebody's bucked off a horse and got a hip broke. What trail you're on, then we know, we're getting to know the trails. So we can find those people. You know, same thing is gonna happen with the trails that you're developing, and especially these county roads. You know, if you're gonna open them up to use, somehow we have to figure out a way to mark those roads and coordinate it with EMS and first responders, Cushing Fire in particular, so we can find people. When somebody's in a UTV and they come over a hill and a tree fell over overnight and they get a stick punched through their chest or something, those seconds matter. So somehow in the back of your mind, you should be trying to figure out how we're gonna mark and identify, map, and share that information with the fire department.
I understand exactly what you're saying. We'll have to talk to Mark about that because the forest roads are open to vehicles, cars and trucks.
all
and-
types of vehicles,
Yeah,
aren't they?
already.
Yeah.
Because you can ride a motorcycle on them if they're licensed for the street. You can't ride one of these dirt bikes out there. Now already, so like, we'll have to put it on our list and we'll talk to Mark about it. See what.
Certainly, you know, you gotta open a new phase of trail, you wanna tell the fire department where it is. Access it. Get there the fastest you can in case somebody's hurt.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly makes sense.
We have people on the fire department that ride horse, so, you know, trying to get the horse people to identify the dispatch, what trail they're on. Guys just kind of go to 290th to the dead end, take a right somewhere in that general area, you're gonna find them, you know.
Well, that's certainly an important situation you got there, Steve. Appreciate you bringing that up.
They added traffic to the forest roads is gonna be another issue. I mean, how we identify those forest roads, if they have names right now, or if they have any kind of, I know the fire breaks out there, there's this fire break named after this person, and, you know, but logging roads, I don't know how we begin to know, you know, where that person is.
So you don't have a basic with the logging roads. They're just logging roads. There's no sign. There's no basic identification.
The
So that's what
two-track-
you're trying to get across.
Yeah, they're just a two-track road, you know.
There's
And it's
gotta
not
be
part
some
of
kind
the-
of identification.
I think according to Mark, and of course, that's been in a discussion a while ago, a lot of the logging roads are gated because the snow is supposed to be on them. Where the forest roads different and they are, but I've been on the forest road checking this phase one. I never thought if we looked at a street sign or something, you know, at the end of it.
Madam Clerk, have you been able to get that in our minutes? So somebody, I want to get as much in the minutes as we can because with our new system, there's so many people even read the minutes of our committee.
I have put on the last couple of minutes, I believe that the signage was posted on the Sterling Trail.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Yeah, just food for thought, you know. I've been out there several times. We just have to drive trails till we find somebody, or if somebody's lost. These horse people get.
And it's gonna happen.
Yeah, we've
What
been
you
out there
say.
several times. You know, and it would help. They're working with us to identify more clearly where they are. This is a new concept here, so, you know, I'm sure if you're on Trail A or Trail 1 or whatever you're calling the first phase, we could have a map of that and know where to go, or in phase 2.
Well, we went Friday, on the way to the ATV park, we went through the equestrian park. And in a discussion within the last month, board chair, that you can ride from the equestrian park. You have all these miles of trails and you can end up at Wolf Creek. So, I mean, they're out there in the wilderness and they aren't marked of any either. I just brought that up. We discussed how you would get from the Governor Knowles landing that's a day park across the river and then you get on the equestrian trails. Ride a lot of miles.
Yeah, I mean, we lost 2 horses, 2 riders out there that left Wolf Creek and then couldn't find their way back to the horse camp.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so we were out there in the dark, with our UTVs and ATVs. I happened to cross them, but they were just, it was a really dry year and they were just gonna start a campfire and hunker down. Starting campfires out there is not a good idea.
No, not at all.
Finding these people as fast as you can is
You got a comment there?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, according to the map we have Clear Track Fire Lane, Fox Track Forest Road, Wolf Track Forest Road, and Turkey Track Forest Road. Those are all marked. The other one was the existing trail, and then it just comes up to the Evergreen and 330th and 320th, 300. So those are all marked on the map that we have for them, for that loop. First phase that it's done. Second phase is gonna be harder because it's not running on any forest lanes or fire lanes or none of that stuff.
You don't have on the map is what's unmarked.
Yeah,
There is money for signage, the signage money is no problem, is it?
they were working on that, I believe, weren't they?
Well, we could sign anything, but what do you want?
Well, Bear Track's already signed. When you cross the road, Bear Track is signed. Is that correct out there? When I used to go to Wally's, I knew it was marked.
never seen it. Usually when I'm out there, I'm in a fire truck.
Sheriff Walk.
I would say too, with the technology of the 911 system, that oftentimes when someone calls, we get a GPS and we can see on our maps and dispatch. And we can try to direct people to the right area as well. So, you know, you look at all the snowmobiling that goes on in this county and all the ATVing and boating. We're very fortunate in how the search and rescue stuff goes down. I think fire departments do exceptional work. I've been out in the Barrens when we've had lost hunters, and it all seems to come together and people do a great job.
Just while you mentioned boating, I'm gonna meet with the Lake Association tonight. How's their boating officer doing? Covering fairly adequately complaints and stuff?
Yeah, you know, we split it up between ATV and boating enforcement in the summer, but absolutely. And if there's a problem, if they have concerns, let us know.
That's all under a full-time recreation officer now? What's his name?
Ty Hansen.
I what?
Ty Hansen.
Oh, So Steve, you're kind of suggesting that maybe between, you know, your fire department there and some ATV people, maybe you need
Yeah.
to just get together and cover some.
Yeah, I mean, whatever he's looking at, there's a lot more information than we have. We got called out there tomorrow, we wouldn't have that. So if you got a map, share it.
I gave you that map, actually.
I've also seen where some of the counties, because I recreate in other counties, have a trail numbering system, like a mile marker system, almost like where you're at position whatever on, you know, lets you know where you're at. So if you did have to call in, you can say, I'm at marker 20 on the,
Yeah, everything should really go by a basic mile marker.
like I say, we do pretty well. Pretty good people at the fire department level and the deputy level that respond and can find these things pretty quick.
Any other questions from anybody? Thanks for the discussion. That's what we're here for.
Steve, that website is just Polk County Snowmobile and ATV Facebook page. It's on there. The picture of the map. It's not totally done yet because I haven't fixed it. One of the trails go all the way across. General idea.
Thanks a lot. It's, you're really in on the basics there.
Yeah, with our chief.
Dr. Vince, I think we're getting down to number 12.
Yeah, just a quick update. We, Chad, our planner, Tim Anderson, and I have interviewed. We've narrowed it down to 3 companies. We've interviewed each of the 3 to do a market opportunity analysis. What this does is simply say, does this idea hold water? Is there a demand? And if so, what does that demand look like? Which sport is it? Is it, you know, different types of sports? Is it different types of events or opportunities for seniors? And this will narrow down this big picture that we've had to what might actually be of import to Polk County. And that's just the first phase. And so we do that. They do a deep dive into the data. They do interviews. They find out what else is around in the area. And they'll come back and they say about 20%, almost every company we talked to, well, all 3 of them did, said about 20% will come back and say, won't work here. But generally what happens in the other 80% is they come back and they say, of your ideas, here's what really looks like it would be good, and here's what you may want to avoid for these reasons. So at that point, we would come back to the board and say, okay, here's what the data says. Is this something you're interested in pursuing? And if so, then we would do a feasibility study, which looks at what type of finances and revenues and expenses would be involved in the different scenarios. So we're just in that early phase right now.
Madam Council, did you have anything you wanted to, any news on any pending that the council has from Judge Black or anything?
No, they're in the middle of a briefing schedule, so it's all, this is when the attorneys earn their money by writing. On all sides. So everybody, it's just arguments in writing right now.
No more concerts, no more contacts with the Fair Boards Council?
No, I haven't had any contacts with
Okay.
Max.
Annual reports, Vince, got anything update there?
Chad gave his on CJCC. Do we have anything else, Chad?
Not unless the sheriff or Mo want to give anything else.
How about the last one is our fee schedule recommendation? Is that
Yeah, I'm gonna,
cover,
Yep.
Chad?
yep, I'm gonna put it up on the board in front of you. Give me 1 second.
I'll pass out the highway one.
Well, I've just got a display sheet, Mo. I was just gonna go over it all on display. All right.
Clerk of court filing fees.
All right. So this is the gist of the fees when it comes to this committee. As you know, we're in full on budget process. I'm finalizing the fees now. This committee is clerk of courts, highway fees, and law enforcement fees. The clerk of the courts fees are established by the state. So there's no change. The state has not changed anything. It's possible they'll push out a change for the biennial, but we wouldn't adjust our fees until the following year if they did that. If they do happen to do that, then I may have to do a mid-year budget amendment to change their fees. But their fees, as you can see, they're very extensive. And this will be in the full budget books when you guys get them. But their fees are static, no change. Highway fees, if my sheet will flip over here. So this kind of shows you the history of the fees, 2015 through 2022. Again, we're not seeing a change. Mo hasn't adjusted his. We haven't seen an adjustment in fees in, well, at least since 2015. So you're talking about going on 7 years. If I scroll over here to estimated revenues hold pretty steady. We're not seeing any fluctuations one way or the other. So once again, those are static for 2022. Law enforcement fees. So this is kind of a mixture. Some are established by statute. Some are established by best practice. Some are established by Attorney General recommendation, such as records. There's no change in fees this year. One thing I do want to point out, there's not a change in revenues this year, but I again want to remind the committee, if you'll recall for 2021, back in 2020, I had to drop the revenue from the jail because boarding has decreased. That's been consistent. We also got notification that the state is going to stop paying to board state inmates, which will be a big hit to us. And Burnett County's building a new jail, and Washburn's working towards a new jail. So those will be impactful on boarding fees. I know the sheriff's office is looking for other counties with overflow to board. But this line here, line 18 that you see highlight, or correction, line 17 that you see highlighted, is something that it's been a revenue line that the sheriff's office has had for quite a few years. That's added a lot to the base, and that's shrinking just because, people are not buying the beds. Once again, I think this is probably indicative of alternative justice starting to take hold and confinement's dropping some. So just be aware of that. But overall, I'm recommending that none of the fees this committee oversees change this year. I think they all hold steady.
We're probably gonna have a decrease in rental. And then the hit is that the state is not gonna, I think we have to absorb the cost of any state personnel.
Yeah, that's correct. The state is not going to pay for housing state inmates. So whereas normally when I came in here as chief deputy, I think we were getting about $144,000 a year for that. It's dropped down some. We're going to see a massive decline, and there's nothing we can do about that. I just think that's sharing the pain of a change in economy, I think.
Not good for Polk County.
Do what?
We don't have any federal revenue.
No, we have no federal revenue. There's a lot of steps to get certified to be a Marshall's holding facility, and they also have to have a need. And I haven't looked in the past year since I switched roles, but I did look into it, and there was no interest from the Marshalls to recruit any new holding facilities in this area.
And we don't have any holdings from Minnesota anymore.
Well, other than the people waiting on governor's warrants to go back across the state line.
Yeah.
That would be
Chisago
it.
County, and we used to have some revenue from some counties in Minnesota.
Chisago built a new jail.
Yeah. So it becomes a tipping point for the counties, the cost for boarding out of county as opposed to building a new facility. And eventually they hit that tipping point and build a new facility.
Okay. And all the fees from throughout the county. This is just a partial list. The county board will be voting on all the fees for the future.
Correct. Each committee reviews their fees, general government reviews the overall, and then the fee schedule will come to the board.
Okay, any questions on that presentation? We'll move on to 15, review and update of the work plan, so we can wrap this up pretty quick.
I looked at the work plan. I see no changes or additions unless anybody else has any. My work plan holds pretty steady. I think it's in good shape.
Any supervisors got anything for the next meeting? The first Tuesday in September. Okay. I think we can entertain a motion to adjourn. Move. Second by Supervisor Demling. All in favor, say aye. Motion carries. Good night.